Over the past 4 decades, Twyla has transformed American dance as both a performer and choreographer. Her work transcends traditional definitions of the medium, combining elements of ballet and modern dance. After graduating from Barnard College in 1963, she joined the Paul Taylor Dance Company. Soon after, she struck out on her own, forming what would eventually become Twyla Dance. After more than 20 years, she dismantled the company in 1988. She has since concentrated on her freelance work for such companies as the American Ballet Theater and the New York City Ballet. Recently, she has announced the formation of a new company, which made its debut at this summer's American Dance Festival. I am pleased to have her back on this show. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How was that? That's pretty good, wasn't it?
That was excellent.
You know, he hit the high points and none of the low points, wherever they were. I don't know where they are. So why are you doing this? I mean, you dismantled this company because you didn't want to be an administrator and all this other stuff, right?
There were 1,001 reasons.
Why you dismantled in '88.
Right.
And here we are, a mere 12 years later.
12 years of age.
And you're doing it again.
That's right.
Why?
You want the real truth?
Yeah, no, just...
Okay,
come on,
look.
pull my leg. Tell me what.
There are 1,000 reasons, and they were all very valid and also quite small. The real true reason is because 12 years ago, my darling, I was not willing to say, this is my life, here I am, the end will come. In other words, to move forward 12 years ago, I would have had to make an investment that said, yes, a school, yes, a studio, yes, we're here, and yes, this is my life. I wasn't quite ready to do that. Now, I am ready to do that. Okay,
so in your mind, you have finally figured out that your life is a dancer and a choreographer.
No, I always knew that my life was a dancer and a choreographer. Now it is also quite clear that in order to do particularly the choreographer component, since the dancer component has been put to bed, shall we say, that's a nice way of putting it, I think, really to move ahead as a choreographer, I must go back to what I did with my first instinct, which is to direct a repertory company, and to make that commitment and to know that I am building a foundation for the rest of my life.
Okay, but let me just understand that. Why couldn't you make that commitment in 12 years ago?
Because who wants to look at the end? I did not want to acknowledge that. Now I can do that. Now I'm prepared to do that, and the 12 years in between have given me a range and a depth of experience that does not allow me to have any sense of having missed anything.
What are we going to call the company?
PBSTwylaTharp Dance.
Okay.
Same as ever. That shows you what we learned. I also, in all fairness, have to say that part of that adventure was to address the classical ballet. That, you know, so-called modern dance and so-called classical ballet have been separated, and that having come up more clearly through the ranks of modern work, I didn't have the authenticity as a classical composer that I now have. And also that I really wanted to learn how to use large masses of people. I could not afford companies of 120 dancers. So I went there to learn how to build choruses, which I learned.
Are you finding out that the 12 years you spent in exile,
yes,
that you couldn't do all the things you wanted to do, and that it was rather confining for you working under the umbrella of either ABT or else the New York City Ballet?
No, I could do everything I wanted to do. I just couldn't do it nearly as well as I wanted to do it.
What does that mean?
I think that it's important to say, Charlie, that I have no intention of being negative about anything, that my experiences of the past have only come to accrue to the better sense of my overall vision. However, that there are times when if your priorities and your vision is not absolutely paramount, it's not going to work. And in all fairness to the large repertory companies of this world, they have other areas that they have to tend to.
Right.
It's simple.
How difficult is it to do this?
To do which?
Put together a company again.
Well, it's interesting because it is the second time I've done this, and the first time I knew nothing about what was involved, and this time I know a great deal about what's involved. And in the last 3 weeks, I didn't, again, in a way, both times, neither time did I really say, okay, I'm going to do this. I just did it. And this last time, we very quickly formed ourselves together as dancers working on new material, and then once that was done and we were Premiered at ADF, American Dance Festival. I've been back in the city for 3 weeks. I believe I've found a studio space, which I looked for almost 20 years to find a studio space and never did. I believe I may have found one in the last 2.5 weeks. I now will have representation for the company that will book them next year. What I want, the ideally designed program, is 3 separate 4-week tours, both here and abroad, and I believe that's in place. I believe that I probably have in place a first maybe 3 or 4 weeks season in the city, and that will be expanded in the following year to 2, so we'll have 2 resident home base presentational seasons. So I would say things are going along well.
There's no dance company today run by a woman either, is it?
That's not quite true, even though I say it.
Well, okay.
It's almost true. The fact of the matter is that the Paris Opera is run by Brigitte Lefebvre. She was a dancer. She is not a studio choreographer. She does not really rehearse the dancers. She is more of an executive director than an artistic director, although she holds both positions. However, she is the only one worldwide who heads a major institution.
What or who has been the most significant impact on you as a
At
dancer,
what stage?
choreographer?
At what
well, in the
stage?
last 15 years.
In the last 15 years, I think that probably I was trying to wriggle out of that position anyway. If you're really saying who have I looked up to, who I've looked up to are Graham and Balanchine are who I've looked up to. I was very fortunate to know Jerry Robbins.
Martha Graham and George Balanchine.
What did I say?
If you're going to look up, didn't you say Graham and Balanchine?
Yeah.
I said if you're going to look up to somebody, that's not a bad place to start.
No, I think that it's important to size up against the absolutes, and for me they were. And certainly for the first 15 years of my career, I was always very aware of them. I think that one of the reasons in particular that my essay into the world of ballet was an essay into the world of Balanchine, and not so much to study his work, because I've never really done that, but just to see how I felt I really could stack up to it. And my conclusion is a work called The Brahms Haydn that was premiered in Washington this spring with ABT. It's for a full chorus of 8 couples, 2 chorus couple leaders, and 5 front couples, and I think I do well.
It stacks up well.
I believe it does. But it's taken me, let me be humble here to say, 30 years to do it.
It takes 30 years. It took you 30 years.
It took me 30 years. Actually 35. I started in 65, right? That's 35
So you couldn't have done it.
I could not have done it until
last spring. You couldn't have done it earlier.
I could not have done it until last spring.
That's amazing. You needed what? Experience, just time, what?
I needed to learn the rules of composition. I needed to learn how I could extend them. I needed to learn how you both weld together movement and keep it independent. I needed to learn how to orchestrate. I needed to learn when one brings in the principals first and then pushes the chorus from behind, and when one brings the chorus in and opens for the principals. It's a very different thing. I had to learn what questions to ask.
Well, what did you, well, like, give me that. What does that mean?
It sounded good. What
It sure
did you have to push on?
It did sound good. I mean, but I think, and it's clearly true.
Yeah. Well, look, the biggest issues probably are quite simple. I did also fairly, since I've seen you last, a piece to Beethoven's Diabelli Variations, which is, of course, his last set of variations, and it's a huge undertaking. That and the Goldberg Variations are probably the 2 largest sets in the piano repertoire. And in order to do this, I had to have a very simple realization. Because the Beethoven was so broad and so all-inclusive, I would have been lost had I not had a very simple something to hold on to myself to vary as my theme. And what I came to realize was there are really only 2 courses of action here. One is to chase, whether you're in front or behind, and the other is to come at each other, and that's it. So this became A, and this became B.
Oh,
and
I see.
I had a great time
I
then,
understand
and it
now.
made